Yo ho ho, Don Mafia. Welcome to yet another edition of the Don Mafia Report. Ladies and gentlemen, I need to be honest with you. I am excited as That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You all know that the premiere for Fan to Fan Network is happening this Sunday at 4 p.m. Legitimately, this is going to be your opportunity where you're going to be hearing from each and every single representative from the NFL content creators, telling you exactly what they are expecting from their team. You already know that Dan Mithchell is about to rub it in all of their faces that the Buffalo Bills are going to be lifting up the Lombardi in 2020, baby. So you're not going to want to miss the overall FTFN premiere and also my segment. In additional plus, we have a very special guest joining the premiere. Just so happens to be Chris Johnson. You ever hear of him? Yeah, I'm sure you have. He's the dude that has the all-time record of all-purpose yards as a running back. He's going to be joining us for his own little segment with the host. It's going to be awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, do me a favor and go to the link in my description and or the pinned comment. Subscribe to our Twitch channel because that's the only exclusive place that you will be able to see our streams. We are so excited that we're finally able to bring this to you after months and months and months of hard work. Ladies and gentlemen, you read the title of the video correctly. Everyone knows me as the Homer, right? There's nothing the Buffalo Bills can do, and I wouldn't find some reason to say otherwise, right? I mean, I am a huge Buffalo Bills fan, and I'd like to think of myself as somebody that attempts to go back and look up my takes and sort of research my takes and give me some type of reasoning behind sometimes my outlandish predictions. Let's be honest, I'm right most of the time. But yeah, so what I thought would be interesting is if I brought on a fan of a different team and we hear his perspective on the Buffalo Bills. Do keep in mind his team does not have us on his schedule, so it's probably going to be as unbiased as possible, and I thought that you guys would enjoy that. I'm just going to stop beating around the bush at this point, guys. Let's dive right in. As promised, we're going to go ahead and have a conversation today about the Buffalo Bills, right? I know, surprise, surprise. You always hear me, the Homer fan, there's nothing the Buffalo Bills can do wrong. Really, at the end of the day, you could listen to me saying that the Bills are going to run away with the AFC, bring home a Lombardi to the city of Buffalo, but that really doesn't hold a lot of merit. So what I thought would be interesting is for me to bring a non-biased fan of the Carolina Panthers and sort of get his take on exactly how he feels about the Buffalo Bills in 2020. My good friend, Clay Ropp, he has a channel called Pantherology. I'll go ahead and I'll put his sort of information right in my description in case you ever want to check him out. But Clay, and how you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. I appreciate you having me on. I've been looking forward to this. We've been talking about collabing for a little while, but I'm glad we're finally getting at it.
Yeah, man. Likewise. So Don Mafia, me and Clay, we're actually friends outside of YouTube. So me and him hang out all the time. Like we get trashed on the weekends and like talk football. So, I mean, I figured was just like, you know what? Why don't I bring you on my channel and let's like sort of get like a non-biased Buffalo Bills take moving forward. So, I mean,
Sure.
Really like super excited to dive into this. So, I mean, Clay, let's just go right in, right?
Okay.
So, all right. So you were a Carolina Panthers fan.
Yep.
And luckily the Bills are not playing the Panthers this year. So, I mean, we're talking like absolute zero bias on your take on exactly how the Bills are looking.
For sure.
So you look at our roster, right?
Yeah.
What is the weakness that you see from an unbiased perspective of the Buffalo Bills this year going into 2020?
All right. So you're probably going to think I'm crazy for saying this. And I actually kind of did some research, kind of got myself together prepared for this, and whatever. Took some notes, kind of looked at your roster, and I was thinking, you constantly talk about your running backs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, to be honest with you, your running backs are your biggest weakness. And it's not because of that they're not talented. It's just that they're young.
Okay.
Josh Allen, gets too much grief on these, other web pages, I feel like. And so for all of his faults, at least he's known for proving himself positively enough in scenarios to deserve a break. It cannot be the same, like your backfield mates, like Devin Singletary, Zach Moss. Think about it this way. Okay, so Singletary averaged like 5 yards per carry in his rookie season.
Was among one of the best in the league at one point.
Correct. But then you have Zach Moss, who's coming in as a rookie. So has combined, you basically with Devin Singletary and Zach Moss, you think about it, with a combined of those two, they've only really had one NFL season of experience. Presuming y'all are the AFC favorites, obviously, Singletary's in his first year, will be in his first year as a full-time starter in 2020. And then the cast behind him is very, they have no experience like Zach Moss. Regardless, the Bills shouldn't take, Singletary for granted is what I'm getting at. But I think that's your biggest weakness, because Singletary's technically, you had Frank Gore, but Singletary came in after what game? Y'all didn't really start playing until what, after game 5, 6?
No, that's like an interesting take, because I've had a conversation about this a lot. And the fact, like, Frank Gore was probably our predominant RB1 for like the first half of the season.
Right.
And a lot of that had to do with the fact that Devin Singletary went down with an injury.
Right.
I want to say it was against the Bengals week 3, and he missed a couple of games going into
Okay.
it. So, he really didn't get started until the second half of the season. But so one of my buddies, he ended up putting this into like this perspective, which is super interesting, right? Like rookie running backs, they are not used to an NFL schedule, right?
Absolutely.
Like, when you end up looking at the NFL 16 games and then you compare that to like the college schedule that they were playing, you need to like gradually like introduce them to an NFL style type schedule by itself. What Devin Singletary was able to do with only half a season, he ended up rushing for like 700 plus yards. And like you said, right over 5.1, 5.2 yards per carry. I really like what he's bringing to the table, being the RB1 going into 2020. Now, Zach Moss, you're right. We have no idea what a rookie is going to do going into the NFL.
Yep.
There could be so much damn hype about it.
Right.
That's including Joe Burrow, Tua, who knows? Both of them could be absolute ass in 2020. We have no idea. We're not going to be able to see until they actually play. But what I like about Zach Moss is that he's not going to be that guy who's going to dominate snap percentages, right? He's going to be that dude that's going to be like a third down back. He's going to be that dude that's going to be like a goal line running back by itself. But at the end of the day, yeah. And so, but at the end of the day, he's going to be that guy that needs to prove himself. But I feel like the trajectory that what Devin Singletary was able to do with only half a season under his belt, essentially,
right,
it's only promising. Of course, that he avoids any type of injury.
What I was saying was I think that with the fact of the lack of experience, because, besides Devin Singletary, I think Zach Moss, that's why it's a weakness, because Zach Moss hasn't played a down yet. He hasn't gotten the chance to obviously play, in that NFL level. Now, Singletary, granted, I'm not disrespecting him at all. I think he's a solid running back. I just think that that's your weakness going in there, because technically Singletary's is going to be his first year as a starter, and he's not going to have to wait till week 3 or week 4 to start. Granted, though, like you said, Zach Moss, he's going to be that third down, fourth down, goal line, bowling ball, and so he might actually get better from that, because he's not playing as much, but it's starting to get him to get used to the NFL level of speed.
Got it.
So I think that's the reason why it's a weakness for y'all, because when I look at your offense, I really don't see anything bad, especially like with your wide receivers. Y'all got solid wide receivers. You got Diggs, you got Brown, you got Beasley, and then I feel like Dawson's starting to come on his own.
It was interesting because me and Clay were actually having a couple of beers yesterday, and like we were talking about, like I was sort of trying to prep him for this interview, and I was just like, all right, like one of the questions is going to be weaknesses. And like I automatically had like at least 2 different like rooms in my head that you were going to say, which was going to be either the offensive line or the tight end room.
Yeah.
The running back room completely threw me off the loop right there. So, this is raw, ladies and gentlemen. Like this reaction's raw.
Yeah. And the reason why I threw you for a loop is because we were talking about it yesterday, and then I kind of like did some more research. I started thinking about it a little bit more. Like your offensive line might have a couple holes, but I feel like for y'all last year, your offensive line wasn't as bad Well, comparably, it was probably ranked what, like 25th or 26th in the league?
Was more like the middle of the pack, and so
Middle?
not
Okay.
quite that low.
Okay. Okay.
Um, but I mean, then again, like we were missing like that like number one receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, we have no idea like how Diggs is going to be able to acclimate to an entire new offensive playbook, but I mean, I am under the impression that our offense is going to flourish this year.
I think with Stephon Diggs, you don't have to worry about that. I think he'll learn the playbook. I mean, that's one of those guys who's probably going to be a leader because he's so passionate about the game.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So running back room is the weakness, okay?
Yeah.
Let's move on to the second question. What is the strength of the Buffalo Bills going into 2020?
Well, I could cheat and list your entire defense, but I'll narrow my focus on a unit that frustrates offenses last season, which was your defense. That's your front seven. Well, I mean, with the fact that you added on AJ, how do you pronounce his last name? Apencia?
No. Trust me. My audience reamed me a new asshole once I ended up mispronouncing that name. It is Epinesa.
Sorry.
Epinesa. Say it a million times or you will
Epinesa.
Exactly.
So AJ Epinesa, and then of course you got my boy Mario Addison, Vernon Butler, you got Quentin Jefferson, your
other former Panther.
yeah, I mean you're beefing up a lacking of a pass rush that held the Buffalo's ace in the secondary last year. You got Matt Milano, arguably the league's top linebacker duo.
Very underrated linebacker duo. It's just because they play for the Buffalo Bills. Exclusively because they play for the Buffalo Bills.
And then you have what was tough to move the ball against Buffalo, their secondary. Because think about it, that you all added Josh Norman now, and then of course you got the fellow ex-Panthers Addison and Butler. But in 2020, that front seven is going to be the anchor for Sean McDermott.
Got it.
That's your strength. That your front seven for sure is y'all's strength.
And so, yeah, man, like honestly, like so many people would say that it's our secondary. And I mean, and so I agree with them right to a point, but people have no idea how much that front seven really goes on ahead and makes your secondary look good. Right.
I mean, Mario Addison's a stud. Vernon Butler's
I know, dude. So many people are sleeping on Mario Addison. Dude, man, has had 9+ sacks the past 4 seasons.
If they have this is coming from a Panther fan who's seen him and watched him play, every game. It's like, he's gonna be that guy. He's also probably might be one of your leaders on that defense.
Got it.
Because he's a veteran.
All right. So since we're on the defense subject too, and since you're a Panthers fan,
okay.
Now, this is probably something that's going to hit close to home to you.
Okay.
Now, Josh Norman.
Okay.
Josh Norman.
Yes.
Do you foresee him having a comeback year this year?
Be honest with you, obviously me and you, CCU alumni.
Fun fact. No one knew that, but here we are.
Yeah. I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. Because Josh Norman, even if he's 3/4 healthy, is a top 25, maybe even top 30 corner in the league. If he has a comeback, I hope so. Do I see it coming? I can't say that because there's no telling what's going to happen. But being with the fact that you have a defensive-minded coach like Sean McDermott who could probably coach him up a little bit, it could be a possibility that he could have a nice comeback season. And
so not to mention, like, he was his defensive coordinator during the 2015 season, right?
Correct.
And so, like, watching tape of Josh Norman playing with the Washington Redskins, like, that team was, for lack of a better term, a clusterfuck when it came down to, like, really putting together a defensive scheme. Like, bro, like, honestly, like, that secondary had zero communication. Like, when they were audibling, like, it was a travesty. Like, I've seen better communication in, like, high school junior varsity teams.
Well, there was no leader on that defense.
No leader. His safeties didn't do him any fucking favors by any means.
Nope.
And that's why that I'm in the camp that I think that Josh Norman is going to actually be able to not necessarily return to his 2015 status, but at least be a significant improvement. I mean, he's going to be lining up right opposite of Trey White this year. There's no doubt in my mind that he's going to be our CB2 this year. and say that he can even come back at 50%, then the Buffalo Bills secondary is going to be fucking shut down.
Right.
No questions asked.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's definitely intriguing. So the AFC East, right?
Yep.
And so the Bills have not won the AFC East since I was a toddler, since I was a little kid, right? So now that Tom Brady is out of the AFC East and the Patriots have lost significant names, like right from like their defensive part of the game, what is your outlook on the AFC East this year? Where are you thinking the Bills finish, and like what's your overall thoughts of just the overall finishers in the AFC East?
So I went through every team in your division. I have y'all going 11-5, obviously.
Okay.
You're coming in the first place in the division because, yeah, I mean, if you look at your team, y'all have more. I've always believed in defense wins championships, and so that now that like the Patriots had so many opt-outs, I mean, Stephon Gilmore is the only guy really back there. So like, what is he gonna do? He can't. And they did draft, don't get me wrong, they drafted all defense, but granted, they're all rookies. So it's not like they're just going to be, they probably have their first 4-round guys might be starters, but they're not going to be acclimated, So think about it this way for y'all. The last time y'all won the division was in 1995 when Jim Kelly was there.
Yep.
And I hate to hear this, but like the Indianapolis Colts, who are now in the AFC South, have won the AFC East more recently than the Buffalo Bills.
So I know, man. I know. It's tough. Trust me. It's
and I hate to bring this back up to y'all, but that game went to overtime, and the Bills got the ball first and ended up punting when the Texans got the ball. And Watson avoided that sack by 2 different Bills defenders and dropped it off to Tawan Jones. And Jones then ran it all the way down to the 10-yard line to set up the game-winning field goal. I'm sorry for bringing that up, but like that just proves how close they were to winning the division round matchup with the Kansas City Chiefs.
This could be an entire different video of us like saying what went wrong during that playoff game. Like, let's not even talk about that for sure fumble in the fucking end zone that the refs ended up calling back. Then that wouldn't have been an entire conversation.
Right.
I mean, and so honestly, like, I think the Bills are like super close. I do foresee the Bills making a deep run in the playoffs this year. But I mean, I know that the Don Mafia is probably going to appreciate the fact that you do see us like finishing first in the AFC East this year. That's something that we're looking forward to.
But I think the reason why I also think about it is because the offseason acquisitions that y'all made. You traded for the wide receiver Stephon Diggs. That veteran Diggs is going to help Josh Allen tremendously as he, entering into his 3rd year.
Of course, when you get a receiver like that, he's like a receiver like for Ben Roethlisberger, because like Ben Roethlisberger is like known as accurate, but realistically he just was always paired with a bunch of super athletic quarterbacks that made him look good.
Right.
And I think that's exactly what Stephon Diggs is about to be for Josh Allen going into.
Right.
So I mean,
yeah,
the season is looking good. That's for sure.
Looking better than ours, to be honest.
Oh, dude, the Panthers. Well, like, I mean, like, definitely let me know whether or not that you want me to come on your channel, and
yeah, we'll definitely
we can talk some Panthers football, baby.
We'll definitely have to do that.
We can talk some Panthers football. So yeah, Don Mafia, once again, thank you so much for joining us for yet another edition of the Don Mafia Report. I certainly hope that you found that to be valuable. About to be putting Clay's information in my description. Say, for example, that you want to follow him on YouTube and just sort of like be brought up to speed for like some certain Panthers news, then I highly recommend subscribing. And besides that, Don Mafia, thank you for tuning in. And above all else, let's go Buffa.